were pretty looking people, but I can tell you people, they were the devil's children.
Good afternoon from Mickey and from me from Castle Goring with the Whoppies. I suspect this will be the last time I'm going to be showing the Whoppies together because they are getting too unruly. And they, in any event, will be dispersed in a week or two, but not before time if my pearls are going to survive telling the tale. Two of them have gone shooting off to the opposite end of the sofa with Mickey, leaving Mr. Diesel. So, without further ado, I will plunge right in as soon as I have got rid of the Whoppies. Okay. Yes. Oh, damn. One has to celebrate life when one is surrounded by such unrestrained love. Okay, mummies, say goodbye. Try to let go of Granny's pearls. God bless. Mickey and I are quite relieved that we can settle down to just being the two of us. And Aurora, fortunately, is a little bit less exuberant than Diesel and Babe. But I'm sure once, well, in fact, they are sometimes quite, well, they're never really docile, but they are sometimes calmer. Like after they've played, and they were in the middle of playing when they were rudely interrupted by moi to say hello to you. So, without further ado, I will plunge right in by reading Cecilia Correa's comment. Lady C, I love your show. I have a question. If Netflix foresees a disaster when realizing those two are a fraud, do you think they have the right to use all those images to make the documentary into a comedy? Thank you. Well, Cecilia Correa, it's a very interesting question that touches upon an absolutely profound reality, which is that editing rights repose with the producer, with Netflix. Harry and Meghan are not going to have the right of refusal. Now, I would slightly alter. Oh, by the way, may I interrupt and say the reason why I'm wearing a scarf is because I have been advised it will help my back situation, which so far is no better than it has been for the last nearly 2 weeks. So anyway, just so you know that I'm slightly being protective because I was told to wear a silk scarf around my neck, that it will help. So, to go back to the question, the content is the content, and it wouldn't be the first time that producers faced with a turkey decided they were going to slaughter it and dish it up for a Thanksgiving dinner. And if Meghan and Harry give them the content and it becomes in their commercial interest, let us wait and see what they will do. They run a risk, I've got to tell you, if they make Meghan and Harry, or anybody who is cooperating in a documentary, look ridiculous, because that means that other people will be more reluctant to sign up with them and to entrust them. However, as we all know, Netflix's share price is in free fall. It's gone down by 40%, while Harry and Meghan have been in the Netherlands showing everybody how wonderful they are and how potent he is, because let's not forget, Harry is protecting the Queen. He's making sure she's surrounded by the right people. And he's showing us that he can not only do it from Montecito, but from the Netherlands and everywhere except being on site. So, Ms. Classics says, Netflix will pay them an amount based on the number of views received. Meanwhile, Netflix's stock took a substantial drop yesterday due to large losses in viewership, with many people stating in a section provided for the reason for cancelling that their cancellation was due to Netflix's affiliation with the HARKLES. I'm sorry, I'm tripping over the word. I've never seen it before. What do I think? Well, Netflix is going to have to decide. Is it going to go with the narrative that it has been so far filming and which it has been true to, which is that Harry and Meghan are hyper-royal stars. Harry is the most important person in the British monarchy, even more important than the Queen, who he has under his thumb. Remember, Harry's her confidant. Harry calls the shots from Montecito. Harry says who she should and shouldn't be surrounded by. Well, let us see what happens. But I would imagine that any deal predicated on success, and believe me, the deal had to be predicated upon success. The figures bandied about are utterly ridiculous, and the only people who believe them or pretend that they believe them are members of the media, because of course it suits them to make out that Harry and Meghan are so successful and so in demand and so rich and so powerful. Oh dear, Mickey's snorting. Mickey, why are you snorting? Mickey says she's snorting in sympathy at people who suffer from sniffles. Mix, come here. Come on. Let me see. Oh, yes. Mickey's just got a blocked nose. Nothing to do with sniffles. Celia Cole says, Lady C, Harry's interview with Hoda Kotb has entirely overshadowed the Queen's 96th birthday. Do you think he cares? And more importantly, do you think the royals care? Oh, I'm pretty sure Harry doesn't care. Not only does he not care, I think that he actually gave himself a free pass in the interview. Because if you recall, Harry said that she doesn't care about birthdays. So in other words, he can destroy hers, he can usurp hers, he can overshadow hers. It's not going to be important to her. What's important is that Harry has his moment in the sunshine. Do the royals care? My understanding is that they are beside themselves with fury as well as perplexity, as well as just being royally fed up. And how much more of this they are asking themselves. Will they be able to tolerate? And I think that's a very good question for them to be asking themselves, because the public are giving them a message loud and clear. The public don't want any more. More than one person has written in the comments and said to me that this is assuming the dimensions of when somebody has a drug problem or a drink problem or is a noted abuser and the family doesn't call them out on it, that they become collusive, that they are enabling. And things are really reaching the pass where the public are demanding that the royal family do something, if only to acknowledge that this is unacceptable. However, I will make the point that the public need to factor into the equation that actually the royal family have been playing a very long game. And the long game has been give them enough rope to hang themselves with. So I'll go back to, say, a husband who mistreats his wife, shall we say. Now, I know this from personal experience, because you'd call the police and the police would come, and the spouse would say, "Oh, she's just exaggerating. Oh, she fell into the door, that's why she has a black eye. Blah, blah, blah." Only when the spouse is caught red-handed, exposes himself or herself, because let's remember the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case that's being heard at the moment, and there's little doubt in my mind, and I speak from experience on the other side of the fence, that Johnny Depp was definitely abused by Amber Heard, and that she has set the whole thing up. And the royals have been very wise, because had they not given Harry and Meghan the chance to show the world that they are devious, manipulative, treacherous, disloyal, liars, con artists, because really they are perpetrating the greatest con on the public. Oh, one act of compassion at a time. We're so compassionate. We're so marvelous. We're so wonderful. We just love humanity. But we're going to denigrate and hopefully destroy the reputations of all the sides of our family. Not very convincing, is it? But now that the public have had a chance to see Harry and Meghan in action, their actions have spoken louder than any words the royal family could have used. Because had the royal family in the early days been draconian and exacted the retribution that really they were entitled to do because of the monstrous behavior of this couple, people would have had a doubt. Oh, the royal family, they're being harsh. Harry and Meghan maybe have a point. Maybe they've been victimized. Maybe this, maybe that. This way, the doubts have been cleared up. Now that the doubts are pretty much cleared up, I would respectfully submit that it is time for the royal family to start to draw a line in the sand, if only to make one or two announcements that counteract, aside from doing it by allowing Harry and Meghan's lies to be revealed just in their actions. I think the royals would not, in fact, I think the public would like them. And in this instance, I think the public are right. They would like the royals to start to say things, for instance, such as Her Majesty was very delighted to see her grandson over tea. There were no private discussions. Or, in fact, they could do it a little bit more elegantly than that. They could say, it was a very joyous occasion where there was no conflict and nothing of any import was discussed whatsoever. Not even security, or words to that effect. But of course, it's not going to happen. Ellen Campbell says, Lady C, I truly think that Harry won't accept the invitation to the Jubilee, that he will never, or this is when I emphasize these big block capitals, go to the UK again unless he gets everything that he wants, all big block capitals, from the royal family. What do you think? Oh, Ellen Campbell, interesting one. Let me put it this way. Harry has announced that he was asked to the Jubilee. Now, if I recall correctly, Harry and Meghan's people announced that they were asked to the Obama's party. Where else were they asked? Was it to the Bidens? To the inauguration? To whose wedding? Who's this? Who's that? Oh, to present an Oscar for the best movie. Oh, Mickey. Oh. I'm confused, Mickey. I don't know whether to sniffle or to yawn. Will he come back? Let us wait and see. But he needs to come back from time to time, unless they're going to go for the narrative that it's an open breach and that they have been so traduced by the ghastly British people and the ghastly British royal family and the ghastly British press that they dare not come back. Of course, their security is so important that they were able to come in and go out without any problem, detected only by the only coach load of tourists, none of whom had a camera. My goodness, it's a good thing we're stupid, isn't it? Otherwise we wouldn't be able to do anything but swallow whole those wonderful concoctions, those bonbons. What do they call them? Truth bombs? I think they should call them lying wiglets. Barbara Darius says, everything the dupe of Sopex. That's a new one. The Duke of Sopex. Oh dear, some of you people are just too much. Everything the Duke of Sopex says and everything he does is scripted and directed by Netflix. And Netflix knows that the American audience will not think that Prince Charles's silence is especially noble and dignified. For the Netflix audience, it comes across as a sign of weakness, if not submission. And do I agree? I think you certainly have a point there. Yes, Netflix has parachuted in their people because Harry and Meghan, despite their fanciful promises, were delivering the hot air that they normally spout and deliver. And Netflix realised, even though Harry and Meghan didn't, that you can't actually broadcast hot air. And yes, is the narrative. I think some of it is Harry and Meghan. I don't think that it's totally Netflix. I think there is a degree of collusion, and I think that Netflix is directing the operations. But my understanding is that it's not totally Netflix. So Harry and Meghan can't be given free passes. But Netflix does know what the American audience wants. It knows, as does anybody who is taking part in a TV series knows. And I've taken part in several different TV programs over the years. And it is scripted, and you are directed. And, you know, there are certain things I am asked to do that I point blank refuse to do. There are certain things I'm asked to say that I point blank refuse to say, and there's nothing they can do about it. So they work their way around it. Harry and Meghan are willing Iscariots. They have the bag of silver coins dangling, clink, clink, clink in front of them. And they say, gimme more, more, more. And Netflix says, and you gimme more, more, more too. And they do. They do. And yes, if Charles continues to be absolutely silent, and I actually don't think he should say anything. I think it should be the palace press office that says things. I don't think Charles or the Queen personally should say anything. I think the message should be got across by the palace press office in dignified riposts. That's what I think. You know, there comes a time in life when you need to expose people for what they are. And if you don't, they keep on running rings around you. I learned a long time ago, just tear the mask off and let the chips fall where they may. It's always the best recourse. Wiz says, Dear Lady Colin, thank you for your wonderful YouTube channel. I love your videos. Thank you. I've had a thought and would like to run it past you. Do you think that has-been's security concerns for his family, oh, and she spells it security, for his family in the UK, which he seems to be pushing rather a lot, are to do with his memoirs? There are rumours that he will be claiming that Diana, Princess of Wales, was, and I'm not going to use the word she's using, I will use a more decorous word, was dispatched by the royal family because she was seen as a threat to the future of the British monarchy. Do you think he will attempt to imply that he fears that he is at risk of being bumped off by the firm? I can see a lot of people believing it. Love to the Whoppies and Mickey. Mickey? Somebody sends love. Could be. I love that you are mutty to them. Mother of the mutts. Well, that's an old and tired horse that died a long time ago. It's mummified, and if Harry wants to flog it, thinking it's going to be resuscitated and that it's going to jump up and win the race, it's not going to work. There have been extensive inquiries, publicly and privately, into how Diana died, and there is no doubt that it was an accident. will Harry be worried that he might be perceived as a danger to the monarchy? He is a danger to the monarchy. He's being perceived as he's one right now. Does that stop him riding around Montecito on his bike? No, it doesn't. You know, we need to be dispassionate and introduce an element of reality into the reasoning that's taking place with all of this. Harry's reasoning is, aside from being insane and disordered and quite plainly dumb, it's also self-serving, very opportunistically clever, and there is method in the madness. Will he come up with a version of that? He'd really have to be even madder than he is meant to be to come up with a notion like that. It certainly would be time for the family to be on speed dial to the men in white coats. Because you see, although we are being treated, and the royal family is aware of the fact that Harry is treating the world to a scenario called insanity in action, he's not yet certifiable because he's not actually a physical danger to himself or those close to him. Because there are degrees of madness, and there are legally degrees by which mad people are allowed freedom and liberty, or are sectioned, as it's called in Britain. I don't know what it's called in America. I haven't lived in America for so long, I've forgotten what it's called. But where they are forcibly locked up for their own protection and the protection of the public. He's not, at this point, displaying signs of being so crazy that he needs to be put away. But let's give it time. Let's give it time. And in the meantime, he's made himself very unpopular. Does he think that unpopularity always ends in applause? Tanya Edwards says, Lady C, one glaring obvious mistake about what has been said about the Queen confiding in him. He said that he and Megsie had tea with the Queen. Did the Queen feel so comfortable with Megsie that she told Has things that she never discusses with anyone else in front of her? Or was Megsie ushered to a side room so that the Queen could confide in Has? Well, Tanya Edwards, you've hit upon one of the many contradictions that always exist when Harry and Meghan open up their, what on the face of it would appear to be a mouth, but seems to be a misplaced anus. Did the Queen confide in Has been in front of Megsie baby? Oh, I'm sure that Megsie baby worked her charms on the Queen the way she's done on Harry. And therefore the Queen was powerless to do anything but spill the beans in front of Megsie baby. Because it's, although maybe Has and Megsie baby are now one person, and so when the Queen confides in H, she's confiding in Megsie baby at the same time, because they're like armpit and deodorant, inseparable. Yes, that is one of the many anomalies which show that Harry's statements to Hoda Coatby were balderdash. Ruby Nibs says, so glad Harry had the foresight and deep love for his grandmother to ensure that she has the right people around her. I, for one, will sleep better at night knowing he's protecting the Queen. Not only you, my dear Ruby Nibs, me too. Last night, notwithstanding the pain in my back, and notwithstanding the fact that the whuppies were a little bit exuberant, once I told them that H was protecting the Queen and that she has the right people around her because he's ticked them off, and any of the wrong people, which of course is the corollary, any of the wrong people he's got rid of. Oh gosh. Sir Edward Young, I didn't realise he'd been dispatched. And what about Angela Kelly? Oh my dear, poor Angela Kelly. So presumably the woman we saw driving into Sandringham, and may I make the point that she's normally not detectable, but this time the family made sure that the press saw her driving into Sandringham. Oh, maybe it was a body double. Maybe it wasn't Angela Kelly because H has got rid of Angela Kelly. I mean, let's not forget that Angela Kelly was the person who had the unmitigated gall to stand up to Megsy baby and say, no, you can't have Eugenie's tiara. You have to have another one. And Harry wasn't having any of that because what Meghan wants, Meghan gets. So Angela Kelly's double is now doubling for, oh God, and presumably Sir Edward Young also has a double. And those are just two of the many people surrounding the Queen that Harry doesn't approve of. That's a really interesting one, isn't it? But you and I sleep better at night for knowing that H is on the job. T. Saget says, now the dastardly duo have Netflix as their puppet master and are being told, big block capitals, what to do and say by them in order to sell themselves to the public. What's happened to Meghan's voice? Quotation marks. Oh no, don't tell me she's lost it again. This time to Netflix for money. Exclamation mark. T. Saget, Meghan's voice, like everything else that she has to offer, is obviously and has always been for sale. She doesn't mind a voice that's a paid voice. What she minded was having to follow a script that she wasn't being paid for. She was happy to follow the script within reason on Suits. She's happy within reason to follow the script provided by Netflix. She wasn't happy to follow the script provided by the royal family because she doesn't believe in giving the milk away free. She's got to be paid for when she suckles. That's what this is all about. It's money in exchange for services. Services publicly rendered for money. She thinks we're dumb enough to think will be public service. Well, we're not that dumb. Barbara Davidian says, there's going to come a day when useless That's a good one. Useless. That would fly much better in Jamaica than it's going to fly here. You know, in Jamaica where they would sometimes emphasize the H in the wrong place and then drop it when it shouldn't be. But we get the point. Useless, and me again will charge audience members an extra fee if they want to have their mobile phones or a camera while attending an event where they are present. Just wait and see. They will have no problem with any stranger photographing them as long as they get paid for it. Barbara Davidian, the principle is sound, but people only want to be photographed with or to photograph people who they regard as desirable. Meghan and Harry are a tainted brand, increasingly so. There is nothing they do that somehow doesn't seem to rebound adversely upon them and their popularity. They may charge, I don't know who would be dumb enough to buy. Liz Roberts says, I think she thought that the UK was like a mini version of the US and she could come over and play us for fools as we're hicks. The race card was a big mistake. If she'd kept that in check, some of the other things that were said may have had more veracity. Boy, did she get it wrong. And he's so removed from reality and has always been, he obviously didn't pass on any knowledge. The British are a cussed bunch. The US is a vast country where many don't follow international news, so it's only to be expected that a small portion of society will believe the lie. Those who are more knowledgeable and like to be well informed know different. You're absolutely right, and I have to say that many people wrote in, and some actually thought that I was trying to say that or imply that the Americans were ignorant. No, I wasn't saying American people are ignorant. I was saying American people, because they're not a part of the British monarchy, don't understand the nuances necessarily. That's not to say that the American people are ignorant, because they're certainly not. I went to school in America partly. I lived in America on and off for 7 years. I know America very well, and I've never had any disrespect for Americans. So to those of you who seem to think that I was implying something I wasn't, I certainly wasn't implying any such thing. I was simply making the point that just as how we in Britain don't necessarily understand everything about Italian culture or Belgian culture or Danish culture or American culture, nor do Americans understand everything about us. It's as simple as that. And Liz Roberts, I think, has hit upon and actually stated the whole situation rather well. And that's why I have read out her comment. Because there are significant cultural differences. I explain them in some detail in my book, Meghan and Harry, the Real Story. I'm not going to repeat them. Anybody who wants to address those issues can read it in my book. I'm not touting for business. You don't have to read it. But the reality is there are substantial differences culturally, even down to the same word having different meanings and different connotations, even when they have similar meanings. The word tabloid, for instance, is one. So yes, I think Meghan misread the situation and Harry allowed her to misread the situation, because Harry was duping her just as how she was duping him. Or, to put it more kindly, each of them was presenting a facade that they knew the other would like to see. And each of them wanted the relationship badly enough that they were prepared to have misunderstandings pass as fact. Abdul Ahad says, Harry is turning into Paul Burrell, Diana's old butler. Burrell was an insignificant character in royal life who lived off his connection to Diana after her death by making up increasingly ludicrous stories about his own importance in her life, to which she was unable to respond. Harry is doing, well, of course she was unable to respond, may I interject, because she was dead. Harry is doing the same with Diana, and now the Queen, although the Queen is still alive, but Harry knows the Queen isn't going to sink to his level and counter lie with fact. Now the Queen, living off his fabrications about his importance in their lives. Basically, he's behaving like former staff former royal. Plenty of former staff sold their half-baked stories to make a quick coin. Never seen a royal do it before. It's pitiful. And what do I think? I think, my dear, you're absolutely right. I deplore Paul Burrell. I've made it absolutely clear that I do. I've made it clear to him. I've appeared on television very reluctantly on the same program where he was, with the understanding that I wouldn't have to speak to him and that I would be seated in front of him so I wouldn't have the odium of his visage crossing the path of my vision. Yes, Harry, in my opinion, is no better. In fact, he's worse than Burrell, because Burrell had very little money, although Burrell did feather his nest pretty well. But we're not going to go into that at this point. The fact of the matter is, Burrell made a career for years of he was Diana's rock. He was invaluable. She couldn't function without him. She wouldn't go anywhere without him. She had to get his permission to sleep with her lovers. Oh my goodness. Talk about potency and power. Oh, very Heridian. Oh, very Heridian. Who knows? Maybe Harry, spending all those years with Burrell, imbibed rather more of Burrell than anybody realised. But yes, royal servants have done it, usually rather more elegantly and graciously and gracefully and graciously than Burrell did it. But Harry has done it even less gracefully and even more gracelessly than even Burrell, who, if you remember, both Harry and William accused Burrell of being a traitor. Then Harry jumps into his shoes. How is such a thing possible? Well, we can speculate, but there are many explanations, and I suspect there's more than one reason, and it has nothing to do with the means of Diana's death. Susan Shaman says, what if he's not talking about physical protection, but intimating that those people around Her Majesty are influencing her decisions, that is, Camilla becoming Queen, there's security issues, and any decision about any request to the UK government regarding titles? That's a very interesting way of putting it. And yes, I have no doubt that Harry is not only speaking about her physical protection, and that Harry is setting up the situation. And I don't think he's doing it. I think Meghan is the one who spotted the opportunity. I could be wrong. I could be giving credit where it's not due. But they're setting up the situation for a lawsuit, aren't they? If they are not satisfied with the bequest that the Queen leaves him or them or their children down the line, they can allude to this and say they were alluding to undue influence, that the Queen was unduly influenced by Charles, William, Angela Kelly, Sir Edward Young, doubtless Lady Susan Hussey, because Susan Hussey was the person who the Queen delegated to teach Meghan everything, and Meghan quite deliberately refused to learn anything. So I'm sure somewhere down the line there must be some resentment of Susan Hussey and Camilla becoming Queen. How dare this 95-year-old, now 96-year-old, broken down old woman give Camilla the green light that she can be Queen, when has been and never was are never going to be King and Queen, and they don't want her to be Queen, and they're going to try to do everything in their power to poison the pond. I mean, who does this woman think she is? Mickey, who does that 96-year-old broken down woman think she is? I mean, just because she's the Queen of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, etc., etc., doesn't give her the right, does it? I mean, and since she's taken that right for herself, we're gonna fix their wagon down the line. I'm Rachel Zane. I know how to slap him once, slap him twice, slap him again. And I know how to entrap. I know how to target something down the line. Yeah, that's a really clever foray. Linda Barksdale says, if Harry does not get what he wants in the will of the Queen, he will sue. He and his lawyers are getting ready to say the Queen was brainwashed by those close to her. It's all about money. Yes, Linda Barksdale, you're absolutely right. It's all about money. We are in total accord. I just made the point, and you are ratifying it, and for that I thank you. Flame Lily says, the puppies are at the age of boisterous toddlers. They must be a handful, to put it mildly, my dear, to put it mildly. I can tell you something, there comes a point when you're beginning to think, especially as how they can't go outside yet, you're beginning to think, you're absolutely adorable, but preferably at a greater distance. Which is great, because that's what allows one to release them to other homes. Because if you didn't have that painful part of the process, or inconvenient part of the, or unpleasant or disagreeable, whatever word you want to use, it would be almost impossible, if not impossible, to actually release them. So it's good. The pain is what causes one to decide, this is too much. To continue, Harry's comment that he has to ensure that the Queen has the right people around her was so patronizing. We wouldn't want Harry's people anywhere near the Queen. Why not? Don't you want Netflix to classify the palace and show the Queen class? And what about Sunshine Sax? I mean, Kevin Sunshine. I mean, that's a man who can show you class with a capital K. Why wouldn't they want Harry's people around the Queen? And Meghan, I mean, goodness, Meghan would be able to take over in the most wonderful way. Very soon, the Queen wouldn't be in Wood Farm. She certainly wouldn't be in Windsor Castle. She would be stuck in one of those crofters' cottages on the Balmoral estate, never to be heard of again. And then, because Meg's baby and H wouldn't want her eclipsing them, her passing wouldn't even be noticed. It certainly wouldn't be noted. We wouldn't want Harry's people anywhere near the Queen. We know Harry's people are the Val Sussex Squad, who would like nothing more than to see the entire royal family no longer existent. They use a four-letter word beginning with D. So they can put their precious Empress Meghan on the British throne. Harry was seen talking to members of the Sussex Squad at the Invictus Games, and they are boasting on Twitter that Harry thanked them for their good work and asked them to carry on with their good work, about 8 exclamation marks. I can't say Harry is suffering from paranoia, but he certainly acts that way. Well, he is suffering from paranoia, and so are we. We're suffering from his paranoia. The problem with paranoids is that not only are they nutty, but they are self-important. Not only do they think they have everybody against them and constantly fighting and us against the world, but they need to keep confusion and hostility rife at all times. And I'm going to read the next one because this also ties in with the Sussex Squad. DB says, interesting revelations about the Sussex Squad. They are all paid bots that go through someone by the name I Sexton. This means all of the attacks on the royal family are coming directly from Harry and Meghan, and the number of people following them are paid. Well, I have done a bit of research into this, and it would appear that Harry and Meghan do have the Sussex Squad encouraged by them, and it would appear that people acting on behalf of Meghan and Harry are paying these people. These are paid propagandists. These are paid agitators. These are paid mercenaries. These are people who are being paid to undermine the British monarchy, the British state. This is perilously close to treasonous acts. I don't think anybody's going to do anything about it. I don't think Harry and Meghan are in danger of being charged under the Treason Act. But that doesn't mean they couldn't be, and that they shouldn't be. Because the vile, vicious, hateful recommendations that they have made, the Sussex Squad, in what they would like to do to Catherine Cambridge, for one. And I'm not going to use the words, but let's remember Lazarus rose from that condition. And they wish her that degree of ill. This is deeply concerning. And everybody should be alert to the danger, because it's not the first time that a member of a royal family has paid pamphleteers, as it used to be called, to tell lies about other members of the royal family. It happened in France in the 1780s, in the run-up to the Revolution, when the Duc d'Orléans of the day used to pay pamphleteers, and the pamphlets were printed at his Palais Royal. The Palais Royal was his palace. It still exists. It's right there by the Louvre in Paris. Beautiful building, by the way. And he was hoping to topple the monarchy and that he would replace Louis XVI. Well, they lost their heads, both of them. Not only Louis XVI, but the Duc d'Orléans, who called himself Philippe Égalité and joined the revolution. It's been done before. This is treachery of the highest order. This is nothing short of treason. If Harry and Meghan are paying those people, and even if they're not, if Harry is encouraging those people to continue to take up for him and Meghan in the way that they are taking up for them by trashing everybody else and trying to shut everybody else down and trying to silence everybody else, that is not only treachery, that is tantamount to treason. Nothing will be done about it, because we live in a day and an age where people can get away with treason. They can even often get away with, and there's a common expression and I'm not going to use it, but Harry and Meghan are certainly trying to get away with murdering the reputations of other members of the royal family. But people don't like it. Only crazy inadequates, ignoramuses, and indecent people like it. Everybody else is repulsed by it, whether it be here in Britain or I am told in America. I'm told in America most people have absolute indifference for them or loathe them or despise them, except for the few and their paid people. But putting those aside, and the rather tiresome magazines that pervade fantasy, but everybody else, I'm assured, is either in America is either indifferent to them or revils them for their bad behavior towards all members of their families, except for Doria, and not even, and now the Queen, because they're reviled for their actions towards the Queen. So, what can I say? The saga continues, and are we surprised? No, because we are looking at insanity in action. It is insanity in action. And insanity is more interesting than day-to-day sanity, because day-to-day sanity is predictable. Insanity in action is entertaining. No matter how dreadful it is, it's entertaining. It is the car crash that's about to happen. It transfixes everybody because it is a human interest story. And we are all human. and we are interested in the fate of others, especially the fate of those we love and like, and those we deplore and loathe. We're not only interested in the fate of those we like and love. That's one of the realities of life. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell. And remember, you please keep the questions coming in. You are fundamental and integral to this process. God bless and goodbye.